Hi, I'm Kylie. I'm a retired paramedic and this is Everyday Ambo, where I share the life lessons learned from a 25-year career working within the community. Lessons I wish I'd known. This is lesson number 11. You're not the hero. Today I'm talking about the roles we play in life and the stories that we have been told, because I've learned a thing or two that were a bit discombobulating. Things that would have been of value to know ahead of time to save me some trauma. As a paramedic, we are often cast into the role of hero. We swan into people's lives during their emergency and we take charge of the scene. Sometimes we even save people's lives. Not very often, mind you. A paramedic's ability to manage what others cannot gives the impressions that we are superheroes. But what most people don't know is that this ability comes from having been cast into the role of rescuer for much of our lives. And this can lead us into careers where we feel like it's a natural role for us. We all have natural roles in life. Humans are storytelling animals. We use stories to construct our mental representations, and we share story to construct our social narratives. Stories have a hero, a villain, and a victim. These characters are used to enact plots, to create meaning, and to share knowledge. All stories have a leading character, and we are the leads within our own stories, spending our lives casting others into roles. Sometimes people fit neatly into their roles, other times not so much. Sometimes they choose their roles, and other times they get forced into roles they wouldn't have chosen. But have you noticed that all the roles need the other characters to do their parts to be able to survive? The hero needs a victim to save. The villain needs a victim to victimise. And without the villain, there wouldn't be any need for a hero or a victim. All roles as important as another. Yet that's not what we believe. We are taught to believe that there are good guys and bad guys in life, and the good guys are the preferred option. We are taught that the good guys save people from the bad guys, and those that need to be saved are weak, vulnerable, and deserving. And the bad guys, well, they're just bad. But they're also strong and powerful, and they get consequences and punishment. This is how our communities operate and what we teach our children. But I learnt that this isn't true. It's all lies. And having been considered one of the good guys in life, I've had to grapple with a lot of these beliefs as I've been confronted by the realities. I know you are probably thinking, come on, seriously, who doesn't know this stuff? We all know bad things happen to good people, and bad guys get away with murder, right? Yes, it is true. We all know this. What we don't all know is that it applies to ourselves as well. We all have an optimism bias and a just world fallacy, where we believe that we are the exception to the rules, and the reason for this is because of the stories we have been told and what we believe as a consequence of those stories. Do you believe that everyone can be a hero? What about a victim or the villain? When was the last time you were the villain? Most people don't believe that they have ever been the villain, and even if they were, they had a fair and legitimate reason, which actually makes them a victim. Even many of those in the prison system still believe this of themselves, and I know this because I asked them when they needed my ambulance. I was recently asked to consider the role of hero to apply to an elite sports team. I could see that they believe themselves to be the heroes because in their world, that's the role they play. In my world, this isn't the case. In my world, first responders are the heroes. This created a dilemma in my mind about who the heroes can be, and if they are the heroes in this world, what's my role? When a paramedic becomes injured, it's a big role change from hero to victim. Victim is not a role most of us have cast ourselves into, and it's not a role we would willingly choose. Most of us believe a victim is weak, vulnerable, and deserving. The narrative doesn't ring true for many of us. The costume doesn't fit, and nor does the fulfillment of the supporting roles by those around us. And what if no one wants to change their roles? When the roles start changing, the story no longer makes sense. The costumes don't fit, and no one knows their lines. So that's when we attempt to stuff the characters back into their old costumes and force a story back along the path that we are familiar with. But that doesn't work either. We have outgrown the original costumes and lost important props. So what happens then? So this is when the magic happens. This is when you have to go back to the drawing board and reflect on the story and where it went wrong. Of course, this can't happen until you're ready to acknowledge that something went wrong. As a paramedic, you spend your life walking into other people's lives, and one after another, I was told their stories. Some beginning back in 1928, others on different planets, and some at imagined points in the future where they'd already arrived at hospitals before we'd even departed. What all the stories had in common was that I was always the hero, come to save their day, and they were the victims of some emergency. Listening to others' stories can be very interesting. It can also be a little bit glary and even blinding when it illuminates your own story, particularly for those of us who have been kept in the dark. That's what happened to me. I was kept in a world where I thought I was the hero. That was my role in the story, until one day it wasn't, and out of the dark emerged a reality. The reality was a little bit scary, and I didn't like it, so I tried to stop the story. I tried to close my eyes. I tried to block it out. I tried to scare it away, and I even tried to run away. But there was no stopping the story, and I couldn't get away. And I was forced to face the reality. The reality that the bad guy can actually be your fairy godmother, there to shine his light on the truth. The truth being that you have been the victim of lies. And then suddenly you can see that the villain can be the hero, and the hero can be the victim, and the villain is nowhere to be seen. And that's the reality. Our roles aren't fixed. And just like that, you're not the hero. Research has proven that when we know what to expect of life, we can brace ourselves for the impact of reality, and this results in less psychological trauma. Do you know someone who thinks they are a hero and who could benefit from using a reality check before they get hit with it? Do everyone a favour and share my story, because I wish somebody had shared it with me ahead of time, because then I could have picked a more appropriate outfit.